Hi everyone, my name is Jesus Morinigo. I am 24 years old and I am coming from Paraguay, which is a small country located in South America. Today, I will talk to you about third world cities. So, just to be clear, firstly, I would like to talk to you about the significance of ethics in all areas of the life. Then we will move on to talk about third world cities and their ethical approach. So, to begin with, the question is ethics important? So, this is what I have. Ethics is defined as the science of moral behavior. It plays a quiet and important role in our lives. It is associated with every action we do. Ethics is very important because it refers to human customs and behaviors. In other words, it is about the behavior of the person. It also has to do with the values of each person. So, ethics teaches us how to behave in society and it also teaches us some values. Third world cities real concept, which is very important because it's the main point of our research. So as soon as we start this research, we could find some important information which says, originally the term third world cities was assigned to all those cities or countries that were not aligned with either bloc during the World War. Nowadays, it is said that a city is third world because the country in which it is located has an economic policy that is still developing or can be said to be undeveloped. Therefore, the economy level of industrialization, standard of living, health, education are criteria that determine the level of progress of a nation in a city. So, as you know, there are a big list which include all the cities that are part of the third world, and we found some common characteristics about them. And in my humble opinion, there are three principal characteristics or main characteristics: lack of education, infrastructure, and health service. So let's talk about more deeply about those. So, third world cities have a mostly agricultural economic basis, export of primary materials, and economy in debt to the most industrialized countries and poor infrastructure. These third world cities play a secondary and sometimes subordinate role in international decision making to the more powerful nation. Some experts maintain that the underdevelopment of this city is due in part to the bad decisions that have been made in the past. Immersing ourselves in the history of these people, we find ineffective political systems that warnings accumulate over centuries, deep and traditional social differences, struggles and internal wars. Furthermore, access to education in the cities or countries of the third world has always been a matter of conflict, because it is through good education that level of development can be increased. Then, the shortcomings in education used to be transformed into a youth with little ambition for development and improvement, which became a low-skilled workforce that was satisfied with its most immediate needs. They also explain many of the obstacles that these countries have to redevelopment. Among these people, there are great social inequalities. A very small percentage of the population is immensely rich and the great majority is immensely poor. This generates social problems, confrontations, political instability, and sometimes ethnic confrontations between different communities living together within artificial borders. On the other hand, unemployment or subemployment is chronic. Poverty is widespread. In this situation, there is no saving or consumption, and this generates a standstill of the population. a social inequality impossible to ignore. In addition, there is poor quality infrastructure, low education levels, high malnutrition, and poor quality public health, among other variables related to development. Therefore, a high percentage of illiteracy, infant mortality, and epidemics, phenomena that fall into the category of population deficiencies, resources that people do not take advantage of or do not use in the best possible way because of the deficiencies mentioned above. So if we focus on the ethical approach, we could find three main divisions, which are inequality, incorrect distribution of goods, and of course, discrimination. So, ethics is also a normative science which studies what is normal. Therefore, ethics is a science that studies what is normal to law. So, we can say that we are acting in an ethical way when in this conduct the normal in reality corresponds to the normal in law. So the word ethics is not only based on the life experience of humanity, but sees in the present and towards the future. A global ethics is not only concerned with oneself or another human being, or with all of humanity, but now humanity should be concerned with the place where it lives, with nature, with the planet, among others. Many cities of the only called third world possess important sources of wealth and have sufficient resources to palliate the inequality among their population. The problem is not the poverty, it's the unfair distribution of wealth, which benefits a few people to the detriment of the majority. In the case of these cities, we could speak impoverished countries or cities in a situation of inequality. These are examples of ethical problems. So ethics includes certain codes of conduct. Corruption is a problem that cuts across the whole society. Corruption in the world manifests itself in different ways. The most common are when private entities have common business with the state. So what they want to do is just to increase, it doesn't matter the consequences of their acts. So if the government operates in this way, you can notice a lack of respect, obedience, honesty, justice, and love, because the government is just worried about their situation and not the situation of the citizens. In every society or community, there should be rules and obligations for the proper coexistence between its members. So the stronger point is the payment of bribes to the public sector, but this also happens in negotiation between private parties, which is sometimes not so obvious. Then there are other phenomena such as agreement between competitors to divide up markets and set prices, from the very high salaries of top executives, perhaps especially in banking, to hidden commissions or financial engineering operations to avoid taxes are the ways in which the government conducts its business, making it very difficult to achieve equality in society and equitable growth. So there are important values, and according to my point of view, the most important are justice and empathy. Justice is the moral quality that consists in the consistent and strong desire to give each person what is rightful theirs. And empathy, let it become a common and normal attitude among us, because the well-being of a community will depend on it. This is because being in solidarity, listening to others, accompanying them in their suffering or helping them is what makes us humans and enriches us as human beings. So let's talk about the word "theory," which should be avoided completely, and it is a dismissive way of referring to a city itself. One of the concerns should be the way in which the problems are globalized and affect to a greater or lesser extent families all over the planet. Therefore, if the problems know no borders, the response to these problems must also be global without distinction, appealing to the responsibility of each and every one of the people who inhabit it. In conclusion, the cities of third world must assume the challenge of development. For this purpose, there are proposals that confront the values of development in economic terms, supported by a sustainability that seeks models associated with the country of the third world, with locate initiative that should include three main points: a social component, measure of well-being, health, education, housing and employment, a political dimension which gives autonomy to local governments and incorporates human rights, and finally, an economic contribution which considers the generation of wealth and improves living conditions. So here you have my reference, and as you can see, my review journals. So I hope you enjoy my presentation. For your time, just message me if you have any question, and please stay safe.